dauntless. And what I mean by that is, don't be afraid to realistically assess your situation. Because a lot of times we look at the world and see it the way we want to see it, not the way that it really is. The mortgage business right now, if you're not in the process as a mortgage leader of completely reinventing your business, finding a way to adapt your technology for future generation suppliers that want greater transparency and greater ease of a complicated transaction, if you're not in the serious throes of re-architecting, you're going to wake up in 2 years and you'll be out of business because someone else will do it. So it takes real sort of self-assessment of your surroundings, your business model, your team, and then ultimately yourself.
I mean, Prospect Mortgage itself has gone through a change. You had, you were a huge home path lender, and you had the two of them. You had the Fannie Mae home path renovation program, and so when that program went away, even though you were the number 2 in the FHA 203K program, all that traction, all the business, you went to the Fannie Mae brokers, you had a birth and motive program. Was that a big deal? Did that impact you a whole lot?
Well, mortgage is all about volume, so if you stop doing volume, then you have to either cut costs or find some way to rebuild volume. So yeah, that all went away. So I took over last January, it's been about a year and a half, right, as that was going away, and had to retool the entire product set. And luckily, we now are 40% bigger than we were at that same time.
Isn't that awesome?
So you gotta pivot. Again, be realistic. Okay, that is not coming back. What are we gonna do next?
So let's see, we sold five companies in 5 years, and we grow the company we're CEO 40% in a year. She doesn't do anything.
I spend a lot of time on Facebook. No, I really don't. I
don't. So I took it upon myself to help break through that. Developed an HR program, worked with corporate so I could get more support from outside the division. And we grew, and we actually ended up having a few meetings in 2006 to get this kicked off. And the more meetings we had, the more women that came. So when we first had a meeting, I would say 6 months into it, I think we invited about 100 women to this meeting, and I think about 10 showed up. And then I started doing this call campaign saying, you don't know me, I'm new here, I'm in Pasadena, why don't you join our group? Well, we didn't think that was serious. You hear that kind of thing. So eventually, after a year, we got people to come to the table and talk about it, and it was really, really interesting. And as important as it is to me to be successful in business, I don't think I will be as successful unless I have a great following of great leaders, great women, and have diversity and inclusion as a part of my mission. So one of the reasons why I'm really happy to be here is I get to continue with that mission and that program. Do it very, very well, and you make time and it becomes a part of your everyday sort of world. When you're in a big corporation, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen because you get sucked into, okay, I've got my job, I've got my calendar, I've got the conference calls all day long, and you get involved in this stuff without stepping back and going, now what? And with the downsizing of banking and mortgage, I will tell you that has hurt a whole lot of people going, okay, I'm laid off from my job, now what do I do? We can't start networking, it takes time to develop that. So I always encourage that, but I think the mentor-mentee thing is not only necessary, but we need to do a whole lot more of it. Well, a friend of mine called me and said, there's this woman, her name is Tricia Phelps, she's awesome, she's sort of at the top of the card. Will you talk to her and help her sort of evaluate what her next steps are? She's been in the company 22 years. So I said, absolutely sure. I was out in Phoenix, I met with her in person, and in 40 minutes, I knew in a flash that she's got to work with me. She doesn't know a thing about mortgage, she doesn't know anything about real estate, but she's really, really smart. So I went back to New York and I said, look, I've got this person. I think she could do marketing. She wanted to do marketing. She'd never done marketing before. She hadn't done mortgage before. So I went to the chief marketing officer. And I'm thinking, how am I going to strategize this? Because I knew she could do it if we just gave her the support and the opportunity. Long story short, I got Larry to say, okay, she can be the chief marketing officer for the retail business, but I'll give you 60 days. I said, okay, give me 60 days with her. If she doesn't work out in 60 days, then I'll take her and I'll move her up her own projects, whatever, just give her a little time. Well, at the end of the 60 days, not even 60 days, the best person he's ever met to work in marketing. But it's, and she's still in mortgage, and she's done lots of different executive jobs, and I'm really proud of her. And there's other, you know, without the help though, you don't get that opportunity. And so you have to step out and take a risk and try to make that work.